The decision has been made. The United States of America is finally withdrawing American troops from Germany amid a very public clash between Trump and Friedrich Merz. After the German Chancellor publicly stated that Trump has no strategy for ending the war in Iran and Tehran has humiliated the entire American nation, Trump stated that Merz should focus more on ending the Russian Federation's war against Ukraine, where, according to Trump, he has been absolutely ineffective, and also focus on rebuilding Germany, particularly in the areas of migration and energy. Immediately after that, Trump announced that he would once again withdraw American troops from Germany, and this is where things get really interesting. As strange as it may sound, this is actually great. This is good news because there is already information about where Donald Trump wants to redirect these troops from Germany. And Moscow and Vladimir Putin are really not going to like this. My name is Alexei Pichi. Let's discuss this topic together, but before we start, please subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and leave any comment under the video. I would really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to my Telegram channel Pichi News. The link is in the description of this video. There we post breaking news as it comes in. So here's the news that has alarmed many people in Europe today. The President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, stated that America is reviewing the number of its troops in Germany and will soon make a decision about possibly reducing them. As Bloomberg writes, this turn of events increases tensions with one of the main NATO allies because of the war in Iran. Next is a quote from Donald Trump. The United States is studying and reviewing the possibility of reducing the number of troops in Germany, and a decision on this issue will be made in the near future. And I would like to note here that such news comes against the backdrop of increasing tensions between Washington and Berlin. There are differing views on the war that the United States and Israel started against Iran at the end of February. At the beginning of this week, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz stated that American negotiators are experiencing humiliation from the Iranian leadership. After all, the negotiations keep stopping, starting again, and dragging on, so there are no signs that the conflict is coming to an end. Moreover, Merz bluntly stated that Trump has no strategy for ending the war and never had one. Next, I'll quote Friedrich Merz from April 27th. The Iranians are obviously very skilled at negotiating, or rather very skilled at not negotiating, letting the Americans come to Islamabad and then leave again without any results. And then Merz criticized what he called the lack of an American strategy. In particular, Merz cited Iraq and Afghanistan as a warning about entering wars without an exit strategy. He says this is the same situation. Merz confirmed Berlin's desire to end the war as soon as possible to avoid further harm to the global economy. You see, Donald Trump stated that Merz simply doesn't know what he's talking about. Trump defended the military actions and added that he is now doing with Iran what other countries or presidents should have done a long time ago. Well, after that, Trump completely resorts to insults, so I'll quote Trump. The Chancellor of Germany should spend more time ending the war between Russia and Ukraine, where he has been absolutely ineffective, as well as on rebuilding his devastated country, especially in the areas of migration and energy, and spend less time interfering with those who are eliminating the Iranian nuclear threat, making the world, including Germany, a safer place. In response to this, Merz slightly toned down his rhetoric and demanded that the leadership of the regime in Iran immediately de-escalate tensions and sit down at the negotiating table with the US. Here is a quote from Merz. Iran must come to the negotiating table, it must stop stalling, and it must not continue to hold the entire region and ultimately the whole world hostage. Iran's nuclear weapons program must be stopped, and there should be no more strikes against Israel and its partners in Rome. But whatever Friedrich Merz says now, Trump had actually questioned the number of US troops in Germany before. During his first term, he ordered about 10,000 American servicemen to be withdrawn from the country, which has been an ally since the end of World War II. By the way, this plan was not fully implemented, but nevertheless, it was a signal. Currently, about 35,000 American servicemen are stationed in Germany, and in Trump's opinion, this is not justified. But here we need to dig deeper, so to speak, not to wring our hands over it. Earlier, Politico reported that Trump is making lists of good and bad NATO allies. And even earlier, the Wall Street Journal wrote that as a punishment for certain NATO countries that did not help the US in the war with Iran, Trump might withdraw American troops from there and move them to other countries. NATO countries that, on the contrary, helped the US in the war against Iran. These are Poland, Romania, Lithuania, and Greece. So, in case you didn't understand or missed it, let me repeat it just in case. Trump wants to withdraw troops from those European countries that didn't help him in the war against Iran, including Germany. And not to send these troops back to the US or anything like that, no, but to send them to the countries that helped. And these are all the Eastern countries. American troops will be even closer to the borders of Russia, which is the one threatening Europe with war. A couple of weeks ago, it became known that, according to the plan, the US may withdraw troops from at least one NATO country, probably Spain or Germany, and move them to Poland, Romania, Lithuania, and Greece. The paradox is that the countries of Eastern Europe are the most interested in hosting American troops, since they are at the forefront. They are also among those who spend the most on defense in NATO. The countries of Eastern Europe were among the first to signal their readiness to support the international coalition to control the Strait of Hormuz. Romania, by the way, immediately approved the US request to use its military bases, and it's important to remember that Trump simply cannot legally withdraw from NATO. Because for that, you need 2/3 of the Senate votes, and such a law was once lobbied for by his own Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Besides, Trump cannot significantly reduce the number of American troops in Europe. Because in December 2025, the US Congress passed an amendment prohibiting the reduction of American troops in Europe below 76,000 soldiers for more than 45 days. And Trump himself signed that law at the time. Currently, there are 84,000 American military personnel stationed in Europe, although this number constantly varies due to rotations. Therefore, the only thing Trump can do is redeploy troops within Europe. If that's the case, then the transfer of US troops from Germany to Eastern Europe is actually the best thing Europeans and Ukraine could have hoped for. And this is Vladimir Putin's worst nightmare. So when you hear that Trump wants to withdraw troops from Germany, in reality, it's not bad news. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode. Subscribe to the channel and like this episode. And friends, if you want to support the work of this YouTube channel, I would be grateful to you for that. You can do this with any donation or a paid channel membership using the links and details in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on your screen. That's all for now. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye, everyone.